Hi, and welcome to the 2024 KIDD Recap. I'm Molly Ballinger. I'm a media coordinator here at the USS KIDD Veterans Museum.
I'm Tim Nesmith, Ship Superintendent and Education Outreach Coordinator.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
A lot happened in 2024. It was a big year for us. It started off with some lights camera action with the filming of Sea of Madness aboard the USS KIDD. So KIDD adds to her filmography with this sci-fi flick, which is on YouTube now.
It's on YouTube as of January 11th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Go watch. Jumping forward to February of 24, we had an electrical failure, kind of a cascade feature in our forward fire room, which normally wouldn't be a problem. We could take time to get it fixed, but that's where two of our leaks were.
Oh, not good.
And that caused some problems and kind of a scramble of our Tiger team because it took out the pumps. So Barry Whitty with Historic Ship Preservation Consultants came down from New York, and he helped get our electrical system back in action. And as we were waiting for him to come down, we had Voyage Shipyards set up a generator, bring a generator up. I want to say it was 50 kilowatt or 75 kilowatt generator to bring up here. McKinney Salvage took and got their towboats and barges, crane barges, and brought it from Voyage Shipyards up to the KIDD and loaded it up. And by the time that we had it on board and was ready to hook it up, Barry had already fixed the electrical system, but we had it as a backup. And that generator actually went all the way downriver with us in the spring, later in the spring, and took us to the shipyard. So very useful. So thanks to Historic Ships Preservation Consultants, to Barry Whitty, to the McKinney family at McKinney Salvage, and to the Verrett family at Verrett Shipyards.
Absolutely. And that event keyed us into just how important it was that we got out to the dry dock that year. So we kept monitoring the pumps and monitoring the river level so that we could get the KIDD out as soon as the river reached that necessary level. In March, we had a visitor from another museum ship, which is not a person from another museum ship, but an actual museum ship. The LST 325 passed by our berth here on the Mississippi River, and we had a cool museum ship rendezvous.
Which is kind of rare. Most of our museum ships in the historic fleet are stationary, so having two of them meet in passing, that's kind of unique and doesn't often happen. So we were excited to see the 325 come by. April saw the culmination of a year-long effort getting the ship ready to leave and head to dry dock. One of those projects was our team B&B, Nathan Bergeron and Oren Bordelon, going around and doing patchwork and wasted metal work where the deck houses meet the deck, wasted metal, aluminum, steel, and electrons from steel, and riding it out. And that was in preparation for the blasting that would eventually occur and has occurred now. And also just getting more pumps ready for when we're moving, because sitting stationary is different from moving through the water. So we were anticipating potentially more problems with the existing leaks. And then the curatorial staff, we built a little bit larger team. Molly Jones and Chris Kennedy came on board with Gabby Fulton and Elijah Otto. And that curatorial team began removing every artifact off of the ship. And then, of course, Nathan and Oren were helping me, and the curatorial staff were helping me a little bit with pulling ship's equipment, spare parts, that sort of stuff that were stored away down in the magazines, pulling that off the ship as well. So we went from probably the end of October until right up to the point, like literally the day before we left Baton Rouge. And just a stellar effort by all hands.
Yeah. And I never thought I'd see a car engine block being lifted out of aft berthing, but you never know what happens here.
Somebody actually acquired a Jeep engine, believe it or not. It was crazy.
And then finally, the river crested April 25th of last year. So we were able to get the ship out. That week was all hands on deck. We had people from TNT Salvage.
Bud Wine and Associates for our divers. McKinney was coming down and consulting, and eventually they started the process lifting the gangway off of the ship the day before on the 24th.
Yeah, that was really cool because it was like the last thing before the next day we'd finally see the ship move for the first time in 42 years. And there was an incredible sunset that night. So it was kind of a cool send-off for the kid, and we knew that by the next sunset, the kid will be on her journey down to Houma.
And literally the day before we lifted the gangway, the very last day of touring, we had a tin can sailor, a destroyerman, who served with Arleigh Burke in the Little Beaver Squadron, 107 years old, come on board and visit us. And that was just phenomenal. He got there at the very last moment that he could, and it was just thrilling to sit and talk with him.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So after pulling the gangway, McKinney came up and hooked on to KIDD, had a whole little fleet around us, and cut the collars, the bolts on the collars, and lifted the outer parts of the collars on board, and then with this little bitty boat just started pushing and got KIDD out away from the collars, out away from the dolphins, and let the river just drift us back nice and smooth and clean, no scrapes, no bumps, nothing. And we went downriver to McKinney's Shipyard, where we continued the prep for going downriver, went through the Coast Guard inspection, and then on April 29th, they gave us the green light and we set sail.
Huge shout out to Huntress Botanics with Johnson Marine Services, who captured all of KIDD's moves by drone. Thanks to Hunter, we have a thorough record of KIDD's museum ship sailing history. Hunter's drone videos quickly became our most popular videos on the channel, and helped grow our channel to what it is now. His drydocking video was the first on our channel to crack 100,000 views. Thank you, Hunter. If you like his work, check out his new channel, Maritime Wire, where he showcases events in the maritime industry.
It was a 3-day journey down to Houma.
Yeah.
Now, if you're driving down to Houma, it's an 85-mile trip. It takes you about 2 hours to get down there. As the crow flies, it would be about 65 miles. But if you're going by dead ship tow, it is 349 miles, where you have to go all the way down the Mississippi River, through the Gulf of Mexico, and up the Houma Navigation Canal. So it was a pretty lengthy trek over there.
And everybody wanted to ride, but there was no air conditioning. There were no toilets. We had a portalet, and there were no bunks because we pulled all the mattresses out. So it was a roughing it type of cruise.
Wish I could have been there, though.
It was sweaty. It was very sweaty, as they say.
So the KIDD arrived at ThomaSea Shipyard on May 3rd. We had to wait a while for the KIDD to get into dry dock. There were a few ships ahead of KIDD in the queue, but on May 19th, the first work was done and the 40mm guns were removed and put on a truck, sent to Houston, Texas, to the USS Texas team, where they're currently being repaired.
That's right, and they have a fabulous workshop that has been working on their guns, and having seen that the year before, we were like, okay, how would you guys like to work together? A little museum collaboration. Gets them some funding that they wouldn't have otherwise had, gets us the opportunity to get the guns worked on without us having to create a workshop from scratch that could handle something that size. And it was just an economy of labor. So it's been a good partnership so far.
Yeah. Hashtag one fleet.
Hashtag one fleet. After that, we pulled off more stuff while we were sitting in the basin waiting to go into the dry dock. We pulled our searchlights, our 20 millimeters, our gun directors, torpedo directors, all the big heavy stuff that had to come off by crane, and trucked them up to Baton Rouge to our Kid Cave.
Bat cave, kid cave.
For Nathan Bergeron to work on. And what did we do after that? Kid moved.
Yeah. Finally, on August 13th, the big day, it was a pretty momentous occasion because that was the culmination of all the efforts going up to that point. Kid was finally dry docked.
Another happy landing.
It was a very long day.
Very hot day, too.
Yeah, but you get to see all that stuff sped up on our YouTube channel, so.
Yeah, you don't have to sit there and wait all day for it.
It was really cool taking those first steps inside the dry dock and seeing the kid lifted up high and dry on the blocks. It's something that we normally are used to seeing as museum staff because that happens every year with the river, but it was quite a bit different seeing her in the dry dock, finally getting the work she needed. And the work started immediately. They started blasting the hull, started on the hull work, started on Stewart's berthing, and replacing the fantail deck.
All right.
So it was great to see her get the work she needed.
And that's still going on as we speak. They blasted the hull already and zinced it, but in recent weeks they've been blasting the superstructure, and now the superstructure has been completely blasted, and they're starting to clean that up and zinc that as well. And then even more work is on the blocks. So we will, on the books rather. So we will be reporting more on dry dock as we go into 2025.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Back at the museum, we had and have a lot of work being done. We started walling up a lot of the windows in the museum to make more room for exhibits. So we'll have some new exhibits coming out soon.
And this is important. If you've ever been here and you've seen our building, it's like living in a fishbowl. And the people who designed the building never thought about UV affecting artifacts. We've really come to the conclusion that the building was never intended to be a museum. It was intended to be a visitor center. But it got adapted, as most things do when you start a project like this. It evolves. So all the glass windows, you've got UV problems, so we're closing those in, and that helps with the UV. It helps with heating and cooling, which sucks money away from the project. So that will be savings in the long run because it's going to be more insulated now. And as Molly said, we're reclaiming exhibit space that was lost just because you have glass walls. So it's going to be exciting to see what develops in the museum in the near future. We had a little recognition for some of our staff in September. Right down the street was hosted the annual conference for the Louisiana Association of Museums, and we're happy to announce that business manager Gabrielle Fulton was the recipient of an Emerging Museum Professional Award. One of our supporters, Ted Verrett from Verrett Shipyards, was recognized with Outstanding Corporate Support. And one of our supporters in the Louisiana legislature, Senator Franklin Foyle, received Outstanding Public Official for his work helping to get the funding for the KIDD to go to dry dock. So congratulations to those folks. And right after that, Historic Naval Ships Association had their annual conference in San Diego at the USS Midway. And senior, what is it this time? It evolved. Senior ship
preservation technician.
Preservation technician. Nathan Bergeron received the Bosun Marvin Curry Award, a very prestigious award. Only one person gets it a year. Sometimes it's not even given out. And he received that award for all of his work that has been done on KIDD. So one international award this year, three statewide awards, and that makes a grand total, I want to say, of 23.
Yeah.
National, international, state level, and local awards that KIDD staff has received in the past 10 years. Staff and volunteers and supporters. So congratulations to all of these folks for all of their hard work for the past, not just for the past year, but for the past decade.
Absolutely, and they're very deserving of it.
Yes.
So, go team.
Go team.
And coming close to the end of 2024, we had quite a few special guests here in Louisiana. We had people from the USS Missouri, right?
Yeah, Franklin Clay, the curator out at Missouri, was in the state, up in the northern part of the state with a couple of cohorts, interviewing one of their last remaining World War II veterans. And then they made a lightning quick trip down to New Orleans, spent the night, came to visit us in the shipyard, look around KIDD in the dry dock, and then jumped back over to New Orleans to fly back home. And then not long after that, maybe about a week or so, we were visited by Ryan Szymanski and Libby Jones from the Battleship New Jersey, collaborated with them on 3 videos, and just had a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's a whole other story altogether. Termites, right? Yes. Gotta watch out for termites.
Yeah, it was fun.
We didn't get to take them to any nice Louisiana food, but they've been here before. They've experienced that.
We went to Hebert's.
Did we go to Heber's with them?
Yeah, we did.
We did. I forgot about that. We went to Heber's.
Yeah.
If you're going to Houma, go to Heber's. It's great food, better desserts.
Home cooking.
Home
so
cooking.
Good.
And then on December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day, for several years now, we've been collaborating with USS KIDD DDG 100, KIDD's little sister, 661's little sister. And when they're not deployed, when they're here back home in Everett, Washington, they like to send a detachment down to participate with us in Pearl Harbor Day ceremonies, honoring Rear Admiral KIDD, and let their sailors connect with the legacy of the KIDD family and the 3 ships that have been named KIDD. And so they had a grand total of 8 people this year come, including their CO. And they participated in the ceremony, and then we jumped in the car and drove caravan down to Houma and took them all around the dry dock and the 661. And something really special happened. It's only happened once before for us, and that was one of the 100 crewmen decided he wanted to do his re-enlistment, his ceremony, on the 661 and have that connection between the 2 ships. It's happened once before. Barry Hardiman, who was a crew member on DDG 993, the second KIDD, and in 1997 their crew visited while the 993 was in New Orleans for Mardi Gras, and half the crew came up for a field day, went back, talked it up, and the other half of the crew said, well, we want to have a field day, and so they had to arrange for another bus, and they sent the other half up, and Mr. Hardiman did his re-enlistment in the enlisted mess on board the 661. So now that's 2 generations of KIDD sailors from 2 different KIDDs having had that connection of re-enlisting on the 661. It was a really neat weekend.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I gotta say, it was really cool seeing the crew of the current USS KIDD aboard the original ship to bear KIDD's name, because it kind of put into perspective why we're even saving the KIDD, why we're in dry dock, which is to carry on Admiral KIDD's legacy, carry on his name, and to always remember his story and his sacrifice. So it was a really cool way to end the year, tie everything together.
And just as an interesting note, the commander was saying that every time they come into Pearl Harbor, because they're in the Pacific Fleet, every time they come into Pearl Harbor, if they're real busy or they've got a tight schedule, some ships are allowed to not render honors. It's not required to render honors to the Arizona as they pass the wreck. But every time that comes up on the 100 when they're coming in, the crew is 100% insistent. No, sir, we want to render honors, and they man the rails and they salute the crew of the Arizona as they pass the wreck. So that's awesome. Yet another reason that they like coming here, because they get to see their predecessor. That is kind of it for 2024. It's a nice way to wrap up the year.
Yeah.
And we want to thank you guys out there because our YouTube channel just exploded as soon as the ship moved. And many of you have remained with us. We're steadily growing, and the YouTube channel has become now a revenue source for the museum, which has happened with some of the other museum ships, and now it's happening for KIDD. So that's just one more way that you can support us. If you can't afford to send a donation through the website, we understand that. But just watching the YouTube videos, you can put it on overnight on repeat and let it run forever. But just watching the videos helps the ship. So we appreciate you staying tuned in and supporting us that way.
Definitely. keep watching 2025. We will have a lot more ship updates coming out and other cool content, so keep watching.
Everybody have a happy new year. Thanks for watching.